All right. This is the Freedom Feens Global Agenda, Globalist Radio with our Thanksgiving episode here on Thanks-taking episode on 11/22/2012. This is Michael W. Dean, and filling in for Neema Vedadi, who's doing family stuff, is Chandler St. Pierre. How are you doing today?
Good, Michael. How are you?
Yeah. I am excellent. They say our levels are a little hot, so I just turn them down. You don't have to do anything. I'll do it all from my end. So we were talking about guns. Good thing to talk about on Thanksgiving because, you know, those turkeys don't kill themselves. Do you hunt?
I do.
You know, I don't, which is really weird, and it's not a moral thing. It's just basically, I think it's based largely on not having a pickup truck. We have a car, and to get anywhere in Wyoming to hunt, you really need a four-wheel drive. And I had a hunting license for a year, but didn't shoot anything. I shot a bunny when I was a kid with my dad with his .22 when I was about 12. I talked with my dad about that recently on here, and we cooked it, and it tasted like a tire. But that's the last time I hunted, so I'd like to get hunting. I live in Wyoming, which is a place people travel to from all over America to hunt. And I'm just sitting here looking at squirrels out my window, which is kind of a waste. So what do you hunt? Talk about hunting.
Well, anyone that listens to our show knows that I have an issue with turkeys. I was living... Yeah, those buggers, boy, I'll tell you. I was living out a little bit more in the country a few months ago, and the turkeys are smart birds. I swear to God, they know the hunting days. They must watch people because I would go out on Friday and Saturday mornings and they would be nowhere to be found. And then on Sundays when we can't hunt, they would literally come right up in our yard and taunt me. And I like to hunt deer too. I'd love to go up north in Maine, which is where I am, and moose hunt. And I will get there someday. I have relatives that are avid hunters, and they're like, well, it's about time you started hunting, because I only picked up hunting 2 years ago after I got a few guns. So I've only had guns for 3 years. So they're all glad now that I'm hunting. But I've only been out 3 times this year. I am definitely going out Saturday morning because it's the last day of deer rifle season, and I am getting one. No doubt about it. So.
I had this. So this is the Freedom Feens podcast, Global Agenda, Globalist Radio on the Adam Curry Global No Agenda podcast network. And for those joining us late, this is Michael W. Dean filling in for Neema Vedadi, who's pussing out with family and, you know, doing normal stuff today. Is Chandler St. Pierre. How you doing, Chandler?
I'm good.
What is your podcast for people to know?
It's Brush Fires of the Mind. It's on Blog Talk Radio on Tuesday nights. And as you have suggested and many others, we are working on actually getting a website set up and getting a server and all that good stuff, because the sound quality, when you're listening to it live, it's not overly compressed and the bit rate is okay, but when you it's still not great. It's not like listening to this, but when you download the archives, it's horribly compressed. And you know the gear I have, it's decent. And thank you
have
for
the same
mic.
gear I have, man. What mic are you using? I know you have the same exact mixer I have. What mic are you using?
I am using the Nady, whatever it's called. Yeah.
The $17 $17 mic that I made a recording of and sent it to, let's see, was it Gitmo or Mr. Oil? I think it was Gitmo, and about 10 other audio engineer type people I know, and said, this is a recording of an RE20 that costs $500 that I'm thinking of buying. Should I buy it? And Mr. Gitmo Slave and a few other people were like, yeah, man, that thing, RE20s are great, and that sounds really good. I think you should buy it. And I lied. It was a $17 microphone.
You know, it's funny too, because when you posted that on the Freedom Feens blog, I remember you talking about this mic on the cast before, and I was like, I bet you it's that $17 mic. So
you didn't fall for it. Yeah.
But it is a great mic, for a guy on a shoestring budget like me. I mean, this works really good until I can really get my studio up and running. So
yeah, and the topic today on the Thanksgiving Freedom Feens cast is radio, podcast audio, hunting, guns, and Linux, or GNU/Linux. Is that your dog?
That is my dog.
Did he spot an elk in the yard there in Maine?
He probably spotted a squirrel.
Is he a hunting dog? Do you take him hunting with you?
No, she is a pointer hound, and she should be the most brilliant hunting dog in the world because they're really good. But my dog is challenged, as you can hear.
Hey, turn up your bass a little bit. People are saying you sound a little tinny, which
yeah, I thought so. I thought so too. And my bass is just about all the way up.
All the way up. Okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to talk deeper.
If you get a little closer and turn the volume down a little bit, you get there's a lot of proximity effect on that microphone, so that would give you more bass. Yeah.
Well, I was fooling around with the mic in Audition just to see how it responds, proximity and different settings and stuff. So still trying to learn it, because before we were doing, when I do the show, I just do it. I had a gaming headset that has an okay mic, it's not the greatest, but it worked for that. So I wasn't used to actually using this fancy mixer that I bought 6 months ago.
Yeah, I changed headphones. I was using my cheap headphones, which actually have a volume control on them, so I can turn them down. So what I'm going to do is turn down a tiny, tiny bit on the... I'm not using... Man, can you do something about that?
Hold on a sec.
I hope that wasn't you putting a mag into a gun. It sounded like it.
Nope. Hold on. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Well, the echo chamber that we get is a function of Mumble, because we didn't have time to tune the sound of Mumble. So the way the noise cancellation works in Mumble that actually makes it sound better than Skype is if you don't tune it, what it does is as soon as you start talking, you get a little bit of echo, then it goes away. So let me stop for a second, and then when I start up, you'll hear echo. So are you hearing echo now? I guess you're not. Maybe it's something when two people are on. I think he's out shooting his dog. No, I'm kidding. He's out putting his dog outside, I think. So we don't have those sort of problems. So yeah, this is Michael Dean on the Globalist Agenda. Freedom Feens Radio.
All right.
So yeah. So there, we got the echo again. Were you putting the headphones back on? Or, the headphones were off. Maybe that was the echo. Are you there?
I am.
All right. Yeah, you don't sound tinny to me. You sound okay. You sound good. But, it's kind of a function of streaming audio, too. It's, and I was going to say about, you really should get off that blog talkist radio, man. I love that there's so many Liberty Casts right now, and so many people are saying, hey, check out my new Liberty Cast. And then they send me to something like Blog Talk Radio or one of those other, make your own free thing, and we'll put tons of ads on it and make it impossible to use, and it has no RSS feed, and you're going to see a bunch of ads before it plays, and it plays as a video, not an audio, and you can't download it. I hate that shit. I think people should get a website and learn how to do a WordPress blog and use a WordPress plugin for podcasting, and make an MP3 file and have an RSS feed. I mean, Adam Curry, the guy whose network we're on, invented podcasting. It's not that hard, man. Thousands of people have done it over the years.
Yeah, and we bantied back and forth just doing a podcast because I do all the tech stuff and all the audio stuff, and we could make a really good sounding podcast, but we really like the live effect, with the chat room and just going on and having live calls and stuff. So yeah, we're working on it and definitely want to get out of Blog Talk.
Yeah. I mean, okay, wait, what was the problem? I was reading the chat room. Well, I'm sorry. What was we bandied back and forth, and what?
We just like doing live, and we decided to do live instead of a pre-recorded podcast.
Well, you can do both. We're doing both right now.
Right.
We're doing it live. People can yell at us on some chat program, and they could call in if they want to. But we're also putting this out as an MP3, as an actual podcast. And I've always said a podcast isn't a podcast unless it has an RSS feed. And although people call things podcasts that aren't. And I'd say a blog isn't a blog unless it has an RSS feed and the ability to comment.
Well, it's interesting because Blog Talk Radio does have an RSS feed. And the guy that does our account, it's I think it's like Revolution Riders, and we're actually on iTunes, and I just haven't been able to figure out how to get the actual RSS feed to work. I've added it to iTunes, and there's like 3 different shows on that channel. So I want to get our own
So people have to subscribe to all three when they only want one, and it's hard to do, and you can't even do it, and it's your podcast. I would say I would even go on hiatus until you get it together. If I were you, I wouldn't do that.
Well, we're probably going to. We took a break this week because of certain issues, but
tell us. That sounds juicy.
It's not. I have a big old scar on my chest from having surgery and buying.
If it would, I'd be more interested in hearing it if it was a big old scar from something your co-host did to you or something.
No. It'd be kind of hard to do that long distance too, huh? I mean, my co-hosts, both of them are in Michigan and Indiana, so that would be interesting.
Huh. So I wanted to talk a little bit, speaking of violence. Well, wait, do you want to tell me what surgery you had or not?
No, just go ahead, man.
Okay, I was just being polite. I don't really want to care. I don't care. I care about you, but I don't care about the specifics of it. So Chandler, I wanted to talk a little bit about Thanksgiving and why I don't celebrate it. And I was bitching on the chat room saying, well, you guys pulled me away from Thanksgiving. You didn't. This is what, I wanted to do this. I've actually, I've got podcasts. I'm doing stuff on the internet, audio wise, talking today and the next 3 days. I'm doing something every day on this 4-day weekend. I'm a guest on 2 shows tomorrow and the next day, and then we have our regular Fiend Sunday live. So I don't sit around. I don't take vacations. I hate vacations. I hate days. I hate holidays. Here are my reasons. I like doing business, like the business that I do, the creativity that I do for hobby and for money, the writing, all of that kind of stuff, the tech writing. I like to do it. I mean, I do it on my birthday. I do it on Christmas, Christmas, holidays, birthdays, Thanksgiving. To me, those are days when everyone's drunk, everyone's in my way. There's lots of cops out. The bank's not open. The post office isn't open. The mail doesn't come. I can't do business with my distributor. It's just a day when people go to sleep, and I hate that aspect of it. I can't work with other people. I hate the aspect of, I don't mind the consumerism. I'm not someone who bitches about consumerism. I like capitalism. I hate corporatism, but I like capitalism, and I like people buying stuff they like. I like free exchanges of goods. Okay.
Are you going to participate in Black Friday tomorrow?
I don't know what you mean. Oh, am I going to go out and shop? No.
Yeah. Good.
Only because people are in my way. It's not like I'm boycotting it or anything. It's just I don't want to be out with a bunch of crazed people who might crush me in a Walmart.
Exactly.
I might order
my reason.
There are some Black Friday online sales. I need to buy a new cordless phone. I'm going to look for that tomorrow. But
well, they have Black Monday. I know Newegg and then Tiger Direct. They have good sales on Monday.
Yeah, the thing is, I need the phone as soon as possible because mine died. My ability to use a headset with my phone died because of the phone. So, somebody said, so your mama didn't breastfeed you? Like, no, this isn't family issue shit. Although it is in a way in that, like, I'm not very close to my family. I mean, I'm closest with my dad, and I interviewed him on here, so people kind of know my dad on here.
Yeah,
but,
that was a great show.
That was fun, man. But my sibling, like, it's not like I don't love him or anything. It's more like I don't know him. I mean, I was probably an accident. I was born when my mom was 40. My dad was 43. My brother and my sister were in college, and my other sister was in high school. So, like, literally, by the time I was 5, those people were gone and out of the house, and I only saw them at holidays. So, like, I probably know you, Chandler, better than I know my brother. And I don't even know you that well, but I like you. Yeah. But, I talk to my brother like once a year. He's probably calling now. I have the phone off. But
yeah.
The other reason I hate holidays is, like, I don't like well, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say it's interesting because I have 2 sisters, and my first sister was born when I was 15, so I'm on the other end of that. And they live in Florida, and it's tough. I wish that I was closer. Thanks to the internet, you can have some involvement. But yeah, I talk to a lot of my online friends and know my friends better than some of my family members. So yeah, I'm kind of with you there.
Yeah, I was really interested to talk to Ben Stone from the Bad Quaker podcast the other day and find out that Quakers do not celebrate holidays, and they have kind of similar reasons to me, but kind of different, but kind of some overlap. Okay, one reason they don't celebrate Christian holidays. This is because they got together in the 1600s and talked about this and decided most Christian holidays used to be pagan holidays, so celebrating them as Christian is lying. And Christmas, for instance, nobody really knows what day Jesus was born. If you believe in that person, even I believe there was a historical figure probably named Jesus. There was absolutely a historical figure named Muhammad, but that was about 400 years later. So, the record keeping was better. But I'm not a Christian, but I believe there was probably that person, but nobody knows when he was born. So celebrating December 25th, the Quakers decided that was a lie. And they don't celebrate Sunday as a holy day or Saturday as a holy day because they feel if you love God, every day should be about God and not pick one to go, oh, we'll do it all then, which I kind of like too, even though I'm not religious.
Yeah, I agree with that. I grew up as a Catholic. I went to Catholic school and got kicked out. And I had to do the Catholic church and all that. And I noticed that you'd have a lot of people that would be in church on Saturday or Sunday, but then that night they would be out drinking and whoring and doing whatever.
Well, isn't that the basis of the Catholic Church is you sin on Saturday night and you confess on Sunday morning?
Pretty much.
Or yeah, some of them go and confess Saturday night before they go out and sin for the whole week. They confess,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not disparaging all Catholics, but I definitely saw that aspect. I'm not a big fan of the Catholic Church as a whole, even though most of my family is Catholic. So, yeah, it just seemed a bit hypocritical to me. And I agree with what the Quakers say, every day. If you believe in God and believe in that sort of thing, you should celebrate every day as a gift.
And, for me, kind of my spirituality is creating and putting things out in the world and interacting with other people. And I want to do that 365 days a year, 7 days a week, 24/7. And the holidays are days I can't do that. I don't have a problem with the consumerism. Like a lot of young people today are kind of brainwashed with this, stuff is bad. And then they use their stuff to tweet about how stuff is bad. But, I mean, to me, God is any person with something to say speaking, the human voice to me is I wouldn't say God incarnate, but it's that's
an extension.
Yeah. And I'm not saying our podcast is blessed or anything, but I'd rather listen to a podcast than watch most media or anything that's produced, even though I'm a filmmaker too, and it's part of what I do for a living and for a hobby. But
yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, most of my day is spent. I don't have cable TV, and I haven't for a long time. Most of my day was spent listening to podcasts and alternative media. And even now, I'm kind of gearing away from that. I mean, I listen to you guys, I listen to Ben, I listen to a few others, and music.
Yeah. I have an interesting story about Thanksgiving too, and this is a lot of what I don't like about Thanksgiving is that people get together who shouldn't and act crazy, and it's not a good thing, and it's really common. I went to the emergency room on Thanksgiving it was probably about 1999. I cut myself preparing a Thanksgiving dinner by accident. I cut my finger, and I went to the emergency room, and they took care of it. And it was in San Francisco, and I went to the emergency room about 2 p.m, and it was completely empty, and they saw me right away, and I was amazed. I was like, why is it so empty? And I asked the doctor, and he said, it's like this every Thanksgiving. It's completely empty until 5 or 6 p.m, and then we get inundated with drunk people who have blunt head force trauma.
Yeah, it's funny. You see that a lot with holidays, and it surprises me too. I remember growing up, and even not that long ago, every hunting season, you would hear at least 2 stories of drunk people in the woods shooting a person because they'd be all drunk and hooting, hollering, having a good time, and then boom, somebody's either injured or dead. I never understood that. And the same with the holidays. Like for us, my Thanksgiving is cool for me because it's usually just my dad, my daughter, maybe one of my dad's friends. Like this year, my mom came up from Florida. And, there's just a few of us. We had a nice meal, sat down and talked. That's what it's about, and then we just go and do our own thing. But these people that make, they spend all day preparing meals and doing this and that, and then they suck it down and then they get drunk. And I never understood that. And I'm not against drinking, I'm sipping a beer right now, but I just don't understand why people get all excessive about it.
Well, I think it's to dealing with family that they wouldn't normally see once. They see them once a year and probably shouldn't see them a lot of times. I mean, a lot of people get along great with their family, but a lot of people don't, and they travel a long way. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of expectations. So, alcohol kind of seems like it's going to make it go easier, and sometimes it doesn't. I have nothing against drinking either, but I do have something against people getting drunk and bashing each other in the head, which seems to happen on holidays.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. The other thing I noticed, and I've only noticed it the last couple of years. What's that? I carry a gun with me everywhere.
Oh, you bad person.
I know. And it's funny because in Maine there's a gun culture for sure, but it's more geared towards hunting. And like I said, most of my relatives hunt. One of my relatives the other day saw I was moving some stuff and my shirt went up and he's like, "Is that a gun?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "That's a handgun?" I was like, "Yeah, man, I carry a gun on me at all times." And he was totally freaked out. And this is a guy who grew up around guns and shoots, goes hunting every year. So it just amazes me that disconnect between the hunting culture and the self-defense culture,
Yeah. Yeah. I had a similar experience to that, although it was when I first moved to Wyoming. I mean, we literally moved to Wyoming. We moved here for a few reasons, but it was like lower taxes, less crime, and we could carry guns. Like carrying guns was a big reason we moved here because Southern California was starting to get, well, what am I saying? Starting to get. Southern California has a lot of violent street crime, and it's illegal to carry a gun there to protect yourself against it. So basically, someone tried to break into our house in SoCal, and I said to my wife the next day, "We're getting a shotgun." And this is before I was a Liberty person or anything. This is, I was voting Democrat. I was a lazy Democrat. I didn't really, I voted based on what the city paper suggested. I clipped the ballot thing out and go. I mean, I voted for Pelosi at one point in my life when I lived in San Francisco, and I voted for who's the other horrible lady? Dianne Feinstein. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I got you beat, man. In 2000, I voted for Bush. So.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that's beat. I mean, I think that's like saying I've been kicked in the left nut. No, I've been kicked in the right nut. I'm better. No, they're both bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never voted for a Republican in my life except for one state rep once I came to Wyoming. And it was a state rep who I used to go shooting with. So, I was like, oh, it's my buddy.
You knew him.
I vote, yeah. And I knew him as a person. I didn't really know his politics. He turned out to be, he's really good on guns, but he was really like, we must stop. He wanted to write laws to like prevent Sharia from coming to Wyoming. And I'm like, is that a problem? Is that a problem? And he's he's pro-war on drugs. So I didn't know any of that. He was my buddy I went shooting with.
Yeah, I think you find that a lot.
Yeah, but Wyoming is a state that does not mind self-defense. I mean, he's gotten in trouble for carrying a handgun into the state representative's house.
Good for him.
Not legal trouble, but they're like, you got to go lock that in your car. The governor, the current governor, who I'm not saying is a great guy, but he ran on a platform of like, I'm pro hunting, I'm pro self-defense. It's legal to conceal carry a gun here without a permit. That happened since we moved here. And
yeah, I actually asked Mama Liberty to mail me the draft bill that got proposed in the state legislature for that. Not that I'm into the political thing, but I have a lot of friends that are, and I want them to propose that to see if we can get that up here in Maine. Because the story, I went through hell to get a concealed carry permit.
How hell? Tell me a little about it.
Okay, I guess hell would be the wrong word. I applied, and I was told, okay, it's a 1 month waiting period just because there's one lady that processes them. And she said to me, look, I'll be honest with you, it's probably going to take about 3 months. Oh, okay, no problem. To the day, 3 months, I called up, I was like, yo, where's my concealed carry permit? She was like, oh, I gave her my name. She's like, your name got flagged. And I'm thinking, oh boy, wow. Here we go. And no, I'm not a terrorist, right winger, or whatever. It wasn't that. It was just, it showed the total inefficiency of government and the bureaucracy because my car was broken into and they don't list if you're the victim or or if you're the criminal. And then something else came up, which I have no idea. I don't even know where it came from because I've never been convicted of a crime in my life. So I had to, she's like, well, yeah, this came up. And she's like, so we have to have our state trooper guy investigate you. And I was like, all right, well, why don't you put me in touch with him and I'll talk to him. And I talked to the guy and he was really nice. Usually I kind of bag on state troopers because they're like really police state enforcement arm. But this guy was really decent. And he's like, yeah, the bureaucracy in this state is terrible. The right hand doesn't know what the left's doing. He's like, I'll put your stuff on the top of the pile. Well, anyway, it took 7 months. And the thing is I'm in the state capitol and the local police, the state trooper, we're all in the same city. We're all within a 5-mile radius. And it took 7 months for them to get a piece of paper over there saying, yeah, this guy's not a bad guy. Give him his permission slip. I finally got it, but, it's just, it totally, that was like right when I really started getting heavy into the anarcho-capitalist movement. And that just was a total demonstration of the fallacy of government for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm always tripping on that kind of stuff. Like an interesting thing right now, to go off onto a little side note that's related, but Washington State just legalized pot, basically, or decriminalized it or re-legalized it because, it was legal at one point. But the police there just issued a PDF or a website on like, now that pot's going to be legal December 6th, what are your, it was a question and answer thing. And it was like, can I start smoking now? And they're like, no, it's still illegal until December 6th. And it's like, can I grow it or buy it or sell it? No, but you can possess up to an ounce, and it's like, okay, you can have this stuff, but there's no way to legally get it. And you can't do it until this certain date, 3 weeks from now. And they said it's still illegal, but the DA is also dropping all current prosecutions, not necessarily releasing people from jail who were in it. And one of my favorite questions was, I had some pot confiscated from me by the police. Can I get it back? And the answer was no. You just took a deep breath or something on the mic and it just sounded like a whirlwind. So something about we didn't get time to tune Mumble. If you can lean off when you're going to do that. If you're smoking pot or whatever, I don't know.
No pot for me.
Yeah. How old are you? Approximately.
I turned 35 Sunday.
Ooh, you're old.
I am old. I feel like it this week too, let me tell you.
I'm 48. You know who else is 48?
Who?
Adam Curry.
Oh, that's right. You guys were born the same year.
Yep. I used to watch him on MTV and I was like, wow, he's like me, but with better hair.
It's funny you were saying that when you guys first got on the network, and I was like, is that the same Adam Curry with the big hair that was on MTV? Because I used to watch that too, and I Googled it and, learned about the whole network. I was like, no kidding, that is.
Well, he invented podcasting.
Yeah.
Or co-invented it. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, back to guns. We moved to Wyoming. We couldn't get a concealed carry permit till we lived here 6 months. And it was very easy to get once we'd been here 6 months. We applied for it, paid the bribe, the $60 processing fee, took a concealed carry class from an NRA certified, from Mama Liberty, from our friend, got the certification and applied and got it about 2 months later. It's weird. My wife and I applied at the same time. Like I got mine in 2 months. She got hers like 3 weeks later. I don't know why. And there's no neither of us have ever been arrested. So there's no background issues, but, probably just it got in the wrong pile or something. But when we moved here, we did it. We moved a really smart way. If you got a lot of stuff, if you're not someone young who can throw their stuff in a backpack and get on a Greyhound bus. We actually we needed to rent a moving van, but we didn't hire a moving van. That would have been about $8,000. What we did was just rented a big U-Haul, 24-footer.
Yep.
And we hired 2 guys on one end to pack it up and 2 guys on the other end to unpack it. And we paid the 2 guys on each end $300 total for 3 or 4 hours of work. And And then we rented this thing and then paid for gas and insurance and drove it here ourselves and stayed in hotels 2 nights on the way. And that's the way to do it. The total cost of doing that was about $3,000. Whereas if we'd hired like, a van line to do everything, it would have cost us between $8,000 and $12,000. So that's the way to do it. But
jeez, and I was bitching about paying $100 for a truck the other day when I moved.
yeah,
I'm cheap though. What can I say?
Yeah. I mean, this is not moving across town though either. This is moving, a third of the way across the country with two people who have a lot of stuff, a house worth of stuff. So,
I totally would have hired people because moving sucks. I mean, I hate it. I've lived the same place for years and years. So yeah, I think you're dead on with that. Hiring somebody just to take care of it. Driving's cool. Get to see all the sights.
Yeah, although driving something that big is kind of nerve-wracking. My wife did most of the driving. My truck driving mama. She's a better driver than I am. So we drove here and we got here at 5 p.m., met with the realtor. And we also did something really smart that I'd recommend. Hang on a sec. We also did something really smart that I'd recommend for anybody who's moving to a new place and getting a house is we rented a house for a year with the option to buy it. And that lets you check out all of the problems a house will have and see if you want to buy it. And we worked out a thing where it was we paid a year's rent up front. It was $15,000 with the agreement that if we bought the house, it would be at a set price and we could take half that money, $7,500 off the price of buying it. Great
Excellent.
way to do it. So we got here at 5 p.m. on a Tuesday or something, and the movers weren't coming until Wednesday because we didn't know what time we'd get here. So the mover guys weren't coming until the next day, but we needed to take some things off the truck, to a pile of clothes to sleep on the floor and things like that and bring our guns in. So we're out and my buddy came by. I knew a guy in this town and he was a gun guy and he was also black, which is Wyoming is not a racist a place you'd think it is. It's not the South. I mean, this guy's lived here, for 10 years and no one's ever called him the N-word or mad dog or anything like that. It's way less racist than the South or Texas or, or Chicago or LA. But there aren't a lot of black people here. So it kind of stood out. And it was we were unpacking. He was helping us bring some stuff into the house about 5 p.m. and around dinner time. And we were both open carrying. I was like, I'm in Wyoming. I can open carry now. And this guy was walking his dog and going by. Turns out to be my garbage man. I talk about him a lot, my garbage man. Lives up the street from me, decent guy. And he's like, oh, do you guys buy this house? I'm like, oh, we're renting it, but for a year and we're probably going to buy it. And he's like, oh, this house been... had a lot of different owners. I'm like, is there a reason for that? And he's like, no, just it's had a lot of different owners. And we talked to him for a little bit and he goes, why are you open carrying? Which is I know he knows about guns because otherwise he'd say, why do you have a pistol on your hip? He said, why are you open carrying? And I said, and my black friend was open carrying too. And I said, well, partly because I can, but partly because we have to live here 6 months before we can get a concealed carry permit. And this guy's square as the day is long, law abiding, normal, upstanding citizen guy. And he said, you don't want to frighten old ladies and children. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't, I can't legally conceal carry it. And he's like, just put it in your pocket like the rest of us do. Just go ahead. And he's a hunter. And that's the hunter attitude here. And I talked to him later and he was like, I did stop open carrying after a couple weeks. I was kind of the thrill of the shock wore off and I realized there was no shock. It was people barely noticed it. And if they noticed it, they didn't mad dog me. And so I started concealed carrying it and it's a misdemeanor here and not a felony if you get caught concealed carrying here without a permit, if they do anything about it, it's a $750 fine. In LA, it's at least a year in prison. So, and probably a $10,000 fine. So I just did that for a while on the advice of a law-abiding citizen. And I talked to him one time about open carry, and he's like, I did that one time accidentally. I was out hunting, and when you're hunting and you have your pistol there for protection, if you can't get to your rifle quickly enough, your bolt action rifle, and or if it's not loaded or you're reloading and some animal charges at you. He's like, I carry a 45 on my hip. And I forgot it was there. And I went into town after hunting to go to get some lunch or get some dinner. And I had it on. And I went into my regular diner and the lady's like, oh, you're openly carrying. And he's like, oops, like kind of like, oops, my rights are showing, and put his shirt over it. But, you know, I mean, that sounds a little square to me, but it's a little less square than what you experience in Maine. And it's way less square than California, where they, you know, you'd have a SWAT team throwing you to the ground if you did that.
Yeah, it's really weird. I mean, I walked into McDonald's, I don't know, probably 3-4 months ago on a Sunday morning. And like, you know, a couple of guys were like, hey, you know, nice gun. That's your Second Amendment right, you know? And it's like, yeah, right on. You know, I wasn't going to go into my whole spiel about I don't believe in Second Amendment and all that good stuff. But, you know, it's weird because the only time I've really seen, and I know Maine has a high percentage of concealed carry. I was talking to the state trooper and he's like, you do not believe the amount of concealed carry permits we issue in this state. It's unbelievable because, you know, he talks to cops around the country. But, just people's reaction to open carry is unbelievable. I mean, I went to a sports thing for my kid, and there was an older gentleman, and usually older people are really cool about guns. And I had a 357 on my hip, and he was like, "Why are you carrying a gun?" And I was like, "Well, because I can, and I believe in defending myself and protecting myself." He's like, "Well, I think the only people that should be allowed to carry guns are cops." And I was like, really? So what happens if somebody tries to hurt you and the cops don't show up in time? And he just walked off.
Yeah, it's they don't get it.
No.
Yeah, I don't open carry anymore just because it requires more situational awareness, because there is the possibility that some criminal or some like stupid kid could walk up and try to fiddle with your gun or something, you know, so you have to be far more aware. There is the theory of if someone comes into a store and starts shooting, or a bank or whatever, they're going to go for the guy. They're going to shoot the guy who's open carrying first, that they can see, or open carrying, you know.
I could see that. And
also it's just, you don't get mad dog here for it. And you know, you don't get that kind of reaction like you're talking about. But, you know, one thing I'm thinking about is like if guns are outlawed at some point, you don't want all the neighbors pointing to the Gestapo saying that guy has a gun, you know?
Right. Oh, I totally agree with that. Yeah. That's why the whole thing about posting like you see all these guys that post pictures of all their guns on the internet. I don't get that, because
I think that's how you register your guns now, literally.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, when they do come to round up and try to take your guns, and they will, and I don't think they'll be successful, they're going to know, you know. I personally think that given everything that's going on with the UN treaties and George Soros's involvement in ammo companies, I think they're just going to make it damn near impossible to buy ammo. They're going to bankrupt everyone. They won't take your guns. You know, they won't do it unless there's a really bad declaration of martial law. I don't think they'll come out right and do it.
They'll make them really hard to own. They'll make them hard to feed with ammo, and they'll make it hard to practice.
Yep.
They'll shut down ranges. They'll, outlaw it on state and federal land. Although, if you're prepared, you're okay. You know, if you have enough ammo for the rest of your life and you can already shoot, it doesn't take many rounds per year to keep up that level of competence.
No, it doesn't. And, you know, something else people forget. I mean, I'm a big gun guy. I love my guns. But you know what else I like? I like bow and arrows. And not the compound ones that are a pain in the ass to fix when they break. I'm talking traditional long bows and recurves. I love swords. I love knives. I mean, guns are not the only way to defend yourself. And I think a lot of people think that's the only way to go. And it's like, no, you need to learn to use what's around you and other tools as well.
Yeah. And, arrows are reusable.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
So somebody wants to know what you think about the UN treaty in the chat room.
Well, I wanted to go off on something else before that, and then we'll get to that. I mean, what do I think about it? I think it sucks. I mean, I could talk about it all day long, and it's what every Liberty cast is talking about, but do we really need to chime in more on that? I kind of like to do something different. I mean, it's stupid, it's horrible, it's immoral. all laws are unjust. All rules aren't unjust. Natural rights don't hurt people, non-aggression principle, that's all good. Yeah,
I think
the
you
UN,
said it all right there.
F the UN. And I'm interested to see how the states' rights thing is going to play out with the 2 states that have legalized pot, because that's in violation of federal law, but the people there are absolutely convinced that it's their right to violate that federal law with a state law. If that stands, it's going to have really interesting ramifications for gun ownership.
Well, you just brought up something that kind of I've talked about before on our show, and we had a guy that called in, and we got into a serious debate with him. But I know that people are passing resolutions for states, particularly the governors and sheriffs, to step in and say, hey, that NDA, indefinite detention, if they target you, it's the sheriff's or governor's duty to protect you. I don't think that's a bad direction to go in, but I think people that are doing that are a bit naive.
Yeah, I don't trust sheriffs to be the last line of defense. I mean, that's Sheriff Richard Mack's whole thing, and we interviewed him in the Guns and Weed, the Road to Freedom movie. And I like him, and I like his plan, but I don't think it's going to work. I mean, most sheriffs I've met, I don't care if they respect the Constitution, they're still going to bust you for pot, so they're not good people.
Exactly.
And, I mean, Wyoming has this. There's a few states that have a Firearms Freedom Act, and Wyoming has the strongest one. That's basically a state law that says, basically because federal gun laws are imposed with this bit of trickery from 1930s.
Interstate commerce.
Yeah, of going back to the Constitution of saying, the original Commerce Clause was to encourage commerce across state lines, not restrict it. But everything from gun laws to drug laws to Obamacare is passed with, well, this is our interpretation of the Commerce Clause in the Constitution. So, and I don't like the Constitution. I'm not a constitutionalist. I used to be, but I realized that, dusty pieces of paper in the National Archives sealed in helium are antiques. They are not grantors of rights. They don't even, they don't create rights. They don't defend rights. Yeah, they don't defend rights, and they get stepped on all the time. And every elected official, except Ron Paul, violates it 24/7, and some worse than others.
I bet you've read Boston's book, Hologram of Liberty.
Yeah, I was going to brush on that lightly. It's a pretty complicated book compared to most of his books, but basically the premise of it is that there were the founding fathers like Jefferson and Madison, and then there were the founding lawyers and founding scoundrels like Hamilton and Washington, who basically put weasel words into the Constitution to allow for unfettered growth of the federal government to the point we have now, and eventually to like Nazi Germany level tyranny. So,
well, I find it interesting. A lot of the Constitution humpers out there, they'll often quote the Federalist Papers.
Did you say Constitution humpers?
Yes.
I like that. Nice use of the Feens lingo.
Yeah. Well, they'll quote the Federalist Papers and, oh, they're good. And Hamilton said this. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. So you're really smart and you read those. Try reading the Anti-Federalist Papers and tell me what you think. And you would not believe how many people have no clue what the Anti-Federalist Papers say and how they're more in line with natural law, demonizing government, and totally illustrating that government, it's not a necessary evil, it's just an evil.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But people don't study history. I mean, even when I was a Constitution humper, as you like to put it,
and a Lincoln licker? Were you a Lincoln licker?
No.
Were you a Jefferson licker? You're probably a Jefferson licker.
I was. I did admire Jefferson. I think Lincoln was the most evil bastard, and I couldn't say enough bad about him.
Yeah, Jefferson, that bastion of liberty who owned people, and Lincoln, who freed the slaves by killing more Americans than Hitler.
Yeah, well, I've talked to you a little bit about some of the things I think Lincoln did too, and whether it's true or not with the whole 14th Amendment and all that, he was a bad man.
Well, it's interesting too that Republicans seem to be the ones trumpeting states' rights now, when their party was started by Lincoln, who killed Americans to prevent states' rights. And I don't want to get into the argument of it was slavery, which is horrible, but slavery would have ended on its own anyway due to technology. the cotton mill, a lot of reasons it would have ended anyway, but he killed a bunch of Americans to flex his dick, basically.
And you know what it was? I read a really good book by Deanna Spingola, and it's called The Ruling Elite in some weird subtitle, and it's huge. It's absolutely humongous book. But she brought up, just like every other problem in the world, the Civil War was about nothing more than money. The South had to go through the merchant houses of the North to ship their products anywhere. And the North, the merchant classes and the bankers were raping the South.
Yeah.
And when the South decided, hey, you know what? We can do business, free market trade ourselves without that intermediary, that's when all the trouble started. And that's what it was.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know if we answered the question of what do we think about the UN treaty. I mean, the short answer to that is the UN was created allegedly to prevent further wars right after World War I. It was called the League of Nations. Yeah, how's that working out? And the UN has participated in wars then and done things that have gotten a lot of people killed, like disarming people in Darfur, who are now raped and murdered constantly by people who weren't disarmed. So,
well, it's an interesting thing. I don't know if you noticed this. I wasn't paying attention back then, but I went back and researched it. During, what was it, Desert Storm 1, Papa Bush's war.
Yeah.
CNN was running video of the commanders, Schwarzkopf and all of them, and they had the big military map of Kuwait and Iraq and everything, and it wasn't American flags on that map. It was UN flags. Desert Storm was a UN operation. So anyone who thinks the UN is all benevolent and going to end war, they're just kidding themselves. The UN is there solely to deprive individuals of rights. It's there. You look at UNICEF, they're behind, people talk about state education. All that stuff stems from, like you said, the League of Nations. It's all about indoctrination, killing the individual. And, I don't want to sound all Alex Jonesy, but it is to create a centralized global ruling class. I'm not saying they're meeting in dark rooms, but there are people out there who think that they can tell everyone else in the world what to do better than anyone else. And that's what the UN's about.
I think I'm going to play a little song that I wrote called Redistribution of Theft with my band Right Arm of Wyoming, and we could take a pee break. And part of it's about that. It contains the line, they start you with the pennies for the UN starving children when you're only just a kid yourself, begging for your neighbors, for those folks you'll never meet, with a healthy dose of mashed potatoes and guilt with your meat. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. Right, I'm playing it off of YouTube over a microphone. It may not sound the greatest, but you'll get the idea. Worms. Oh, but I unplugged my, I can't do it.
Hey, for future reference, and actually I will play it, Michael, because I can plug my iPod right into the mixer, and I happen to have I just posted the link on the chat room if you want to grab that and play it. Okay, hold on a second.
All right. We are doing live tightrope falling radio here on Freedom Feens, No Agenda Globalist Radio on the Adam Curry Network. And we are about to hear the song Redistribution of Wealth by Right Arm of Wyoming, which is not a right-wing reference. It's a reference to the FAL rifle, which is called the Right Arm of the Free World. And I had one for a while, and I called it the Right Arm of Wyoming. The FAL is called the Right Arm of the Free World because every non-communist country except America uses it as their main battle rifle. America uses AR-15 platform, M16, is it M16, M14? M14's the 308 from Vietnam. I forget. I'm not that good on government guns, man. How you doing there, Chandler? You got things wired up?
I'm plugging it in now.
All right. Yeah. This is, who's on the show today? This is Chandler. Say hi, Chandler.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, it's Chandler St. Pierre from the Brush Fires of the Mind Radio, because Neema had to go be with his family. That's fine. I'm fine with it.
All right, so somebody give me just a confirmation to hear this. If they hear the song, I'm going to play it now.
I will do that. Hello. Do we have audio? I don't hear it.
You don't hear it, huh?
I hear nothing.
That's very interesting.
Nothing. Not a thing.
Maybe it's something with Mumble, because I did this last week on the show, actually.
Yeah, live radio. Everyone's probably already listened to it and done with it because we posted it in the chat room. Yeah, Freedom Feens.
I don't want to hear this song again.
Jay Haley says, "Hi, Chandler."
Well, hey,
Chandler sent me a document. I'm going to read it later.
What did I send?
What? Oh, not Chandler. Jay.
Some other guy.
Jay, some other guy. Yeah. 1,000 points of dumb F derp. Yeah, that's us. So what I was going to say about, if you have enough ammo and skill for the rest of your life, you're set. Although they will try to arrest everybody they can for anything so they can take their gun rights away. Here we go. That sounds horrible, man. Stop it. Shut it down. Shut it down. That sounded like a bunch of mosquitoes jamming who'd fallen down a well.
You know why it is? Because it's on headphone jack and not an XLR.
Yeah.
Yeah, but usually if you play it through an RCA jack, it sounds crystal clear. I don't know why it's not working today.
I'll cut it into the archive and it'll sound great.
Redistribution of theft. Watch your country die. Redistribution is theft. While you just stand by. Stop stealing from me. Stop stealing from me. With the pennies for the UN starving children when you're only just a kid yourself. Begging from your neighbors for those folks you'll never meet, with a healthy dose of mashed potatoes and guilt with your meat. Then you cannot eat in class unless you bring a lot. It's a socialist indoctrination for the happy tots. When we got the soccer where everybody wins. No more competition for American kids. Redistribution of theft. Watch your country die. Redistribution is theft. While you just stand by. Stop stealing from me. Stop stealing from me. Stop stealing from me. Stop stealing from me. Branding normal talk is hate speech. Stealing more of our rights out from our reach. California failed social experiment. Give your money to the moms who'll never earn a cent. Get the federal housing to ignore the 8th grade math. You wanna take it global. Make it all people, but for some more so than others. Giving all our money to career welfare mothers. Redistribution of theft. Watch your country die. Redistribution is theft. While you just stand by. Stop stealing from me. Stop stealing from me. Stop stealing from me. I propose 2-term limits. First one in office, the second in jail. For student volunteers build as labor camps when they think that they're building schools. Visit your neighbor, don't bother to fret. Email the White House about that right-wing threat. We'll brand the true Americans with chips in our arm. I'll bet the Nazis wish they had that little secret charm as they redistribution of theft. me.
So what I was going to say is, if you've got enough guns and ammo for the rest of your life, which isn't that much ammo. I mean, if you only need it for hunting and, it's nice to have as much as you can in a free market. You should be able to, but it's going away from that. So, if you've got a few thousand rounds for each gun, which ain't that much, and you're a good shot and you can sneak out somewhere and do 50 rounds a year to keep up, you're probably okay. Now, what I want to say is there's a lot of people I've talked to who aren't completely anti-gun, but they're like, well, I'll get guns when the world gets bad enough. And I'm like, you're not going to be able to get guns when the world gets bad enough. You should get them while things are good, And that's the same way I feel about using computer encryption, which I'm really encouraging people to do. I got a couple guys writing a blog post for the Freedom Feens on using PGP email written for beginners. And I'm going to write one on using Pigeon off the record instant messaging plugin. And I think it's really good to get up to speed with that. So when they outlaw it or start looking really carefully at people who are using it, you're not posting online going, how do I use this? Or searching it or whatever. People should get a VPN. We use Bola VPN, BOLEH VPN.net. You use Bola, don't you?
Yes, because of you guys.
Yeah. And, it's not going to be, if they make that outlawed or very difficult to use, it's not going to be as hard to get or use as a gun because you can't yet download guns, although we have a guy working on that.
Yep.
Cody Wilson, who is the Freedom Feens senior printable gun correspondent.
Did you see the video? There's a friend of mine sent it to me, and I think it was right around the same time you did the interview with Cody. I don't know if he's affiliated with him at all, but somebody made the inside receiver for a M16 AR.
That was before. That's what inspired Cody.
Okay.
And Cody was like, I want to do the whole gun.
Yep.
Yeah, and that got a lot of attention and a lot of negative attention, even on 3D printer hobbyist sites. And we haven't touched our notes yet today, but there's some notes about printable guns in here. Let me find it.
Yeah, I've got them up too.
Let's go with that.
All right.
Gun lobby loves 3D printed weapons. Not. Yeah. That's the title of an article. If I can find it. Is this the one? Let's check it out. It said gun lobby loves 3D printable guns. I would say that's not true. I mean, the gun lobby, I think of as the NRA, and I quit the NRA about 3 years ago, about the time that I was still a voter then, and I stopped. I mean, I was like, they backed Harry Reid because he stole a bunch of tax money and built a rifle range right before an election.
Yeah, well, the NRA is not a gun owner's friend.
Yeah, it's a they want to make a lot of money for their lawyers, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, so let me post a couple links here on the chat room about printable guns. One from the Huffington Post, which is, of course, very against 3D printable guns. Yeah. Yeah, the HuffPo.
Now, question for you. How do I post in the chat room? I'm in there, but I can only observe.
It's hard to see, but at the very bottom, there's a little white place there, and you can type and then hit enter.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, although I try not to post a lot because it makes the cast worse because I'm paying too much attention to it.
Yeah, I do that a lot on ours too.
But I'm posting these links so other people can be looking at what we're looking at. Oh, I like this link of Cody with his 3D. This is Cody, the guy who's working on the 3D gun. Someone said you sound good, Chandler.
Why, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, Cody Wilson with his AK-47, which he has named Individual Mandate. That sounds like a line in the sand to me. What does that sound like to you? Explain what you think that means.
Individual mandate. That sounds scary. It reminds me of all that healthcare crap. But I do like the fact that I guess you could turn it around to say, you know what, I'm an individual and this is where I make
mandate.
my stand. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think some people would say that means he's going to use it if he has to do that. But I know him. I've talked to him a lot. I've interviewed him, actually given him a lot of advice, which could someday probably be conceived as aiding and abetting the enemy. But no, we're just talking technology, and internet stuff. But Yeah, that's
now. This isn't a 3D printed gun, is it?
No, it's an AK-47. What he's trying to do, he's raised about $20,000 and is buying a 3D printer and got some guys helping design it. What they're trying to do is to do a proof of concept printable gun that can fire a 22 bullet once safely. That's it. That's what they're starting with. And I like that.
Yeah, start small and build from there.
Yep. Although I think I would start with a something that works more like a musket. No, 308. No, the problem is the pressures. 3D plastic printable, it's goop that's turned into plastic in 3D printers. A 308 is going to shatter that in a million directions. You need to start small. The amount of pressure in a 308 is between 20 and 40 times the amount of pressure in a 22, depending on which 22 and which 308.
Right.
But it's doubtful to a lot of people who are, mechanics people, if he can even print something that could fire a 22 without exploding. But, if you printed something that was a block that was like 4 inches by 4 inches with a 22 hole down the middle and a way to hit the firing pin, basically a zip gun, 2 or 3 inches of that plastic on either side, on all sides of that 22 little tiny bullet would probably keep it from firing. I've advised him that when he first tries it, to do it from a distance and use a string to pull the trigger and have a video camera that's expendable filming it and be, 40 feet away behind a wall.
Good call. I think it's doable, though. I never got to ask you, what's your opinion on black powder, muskets, handguns, everything?
I don't own any. I like the idea. I would like, if I had a lot of money, I'd probably own some, but there's a lot of other things I'd need to take care of first, like, some plumbing issues in our house and, some maybe a car for me. My wife and I share a car. I basically live really cheap so I can spend all my money on modern guns and computers and microphones. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I also think they're good. I think it's good to know how to use that, because if guns are outlawed, you may have to go back to that. And I think people should know how to make gunpowder. Gunpowder can be made, and no law can keep people from doing things like that. You can make gunpowder with like bird poop, charcoal, and sulfur. And sulfur, yep, you can dig out of the ground. So, and you can make a gun with things you can buy at a hardware store, and you can make a projectile out of anything. Muskets and cannons, muskets were made to shoot balls, but they could also shoot gravel.
Yep.
Yeah.
I wants me a blunderbuss. Those things are, I've actually seen a working one, and they're pretty interesting.
I've been to the Cody Gun Museum in Wyoming, which if anybody ever goes to Wyoming, I'd recommend going to the Cody Museum. It's actually 5 museums. The firearms part of it is the largest publicly viewable firearms collection in America, possibly in the world. And definitely in the world, there might be like a Russian military museum that has more guns, but there's no public museum in the world that has more guns from more eras from more countries. They have everything from a blunderbuss to an M16 to a Glock to, a Mosin Nagant, and they don't have one of them. They have like 50 Mosin Nagants all shown together and things like that.
That's really cool.
And that museum, the Cody Museum, Buffalo Bill Cody Museum in Cody, Wyoming, also has, the gun museum is outrageous and amazing, and it's a fifth of the museum. They also have a natural history Wyoming museum wing. They have an Indian art museum. They have a Wyoming art museum, and they have a Yellowstone National Park museum.
When I was younger, and this was before I got into guns, but one of the coolest things I ever saw was a 38 pistol made into a pot pipe.
I don't know, man. I'd have a problem sticking anything in my mouth that looks like a gun. I really would. It's just, I would know. It's real. I don't smoke pot, but yeah.
Well, it shows the arrogance of police. Our old police station before they built the new one, they used to have this big wall display case of all the different pot pipes and bongs they confiscated from people. And, it was up on display, like, proudly, we confiscated these and took these off the streets. And it's like, you rob people of their property, guy. Come on. Even back then, I knew that. But, yeah, there was some pretty interesting ones in there. That's where I saw the gun pipe.
Huh. Someone said, enough ammo?
Yeah,
that's
I
funny.
saw that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that. I'm just saying, get it now while you can.
Well, that's the thing, because, there's no big conspiracy. If you just factor in for inflation, when I started buying guns and bullets, 3 or 4 years ago, I could get a box of 9mm Federal for, I think, $8.97. Now they're $13 or $14.97 a box. So just figure in inflation alone. And, thankfully I bought a lot back then, so I'm kind of beating it. It's the same thing with precious metals or food, I mean, the blog post I did on the Freedom Feens blog about that, if nothing else, you're just trying to stay ahead of inflation.
Yeah.
You don't have to get all conspiratorial or defeatist, they're going to come for everything. Not saying they won't, but shouldn't you be prepared? And, an interesting point, too, I think you and Ben have talked about it, and when I wrote that article, somebody else had private messaged me and said, I agree with your preparation thing, but one of the things you left out is not talking about it on podcasts and on Facebook, because you don't want all kinds of people to know that you're stocked right up on precious metals, food, and guns. Because guess where they're going to come when the crap hits the fan?
I don't have any precious metal, food, or guns. I'm just a theorist, man.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Except for that one I carry. That's the only one.
Yep. So, learn to use guns, and although I don't have any, but learn to use guns and learn to use computer encryption while you can.
I thought it was funny. I've been a tech guy since I started using computers in '98, and I'm fairly good with them. But I've never gone into encryption. And Mama Liberty, and she's 67. She's trying to walk me step through step how to use PNGP. So you've got to do this. Come on. I'm like, the irony did not escape me.
Yeah.
But she's got a lot of cool cats that she talks to on the mental militias, and that's a good source of information, especially
the
in
mental
the culture.
militias. It's mental militia forum.
Yeah.
You mean on the internet's that thing, the mental militias? Yeah. Yeah, people are posting some stuff in the chat room that's making me go, okay, you're either attracting the feds or you are the feds. And I'm serious about that. It's like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear that kind of stuff. Seriously.
Yeah. Well, if it's the feds, hi feds.
Hi feds.
We're honest, law-abiding citizens who would never do anything wrong.
Yeah, actually, feds, since you're recording everything that I do on the internet, I have a request. Then you could maybe save me the time of a FOIA request. About 7 months ago, Neema and I did a live streaming cast on the LRN that was, it was called, God, what was it called? Well, you know the one. It was the one where we were talking about you and how you guys were listening and how you were planning COINTELPRO agents in our chat room. And I forgot to hit record on that. So I'm sure you guys recorded it. So if you could just send me a link where I can, temporary link where I can download an MP3 of that, I'd really appreciate it.
Awesome.
I'm paying y'all salaries. You can at least help me out here.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we're not paying it voluntarily. Hey, I know you guys touched on it a little bit in the last cast, but Ron Paul's farewell speech, my God.
Awesome.
He totally came out of the anarchist closet with that.
He did. And I'd been predicting that. Neema and I had been predicting that for like a year and a half on, saying that the minute he's done with politics, he's going to come out as an anarchist. And he's still in office, but he's done with politics. He's there. I mean, there's 3 more weeks of Congress and then they're on in detention. I mean, holiday, and then they'll write some more detention bills and come back and pass them. But, yeah, he didn't use the word anarchist. He did use the word voluntarist, which I think is, pretty much synonymous with our type of peaceful anarchy.
He used all the keywords. Anyone that's been in the anarcho-capitalist movement.
He was nodding and winking to us. Yeah.
Yeah, he was. I mean, I talked to a guy who was just a big Ron Paul fan. He's not into a lot of the stuff we are. And even he was blown away. He's like, wow, that speech was really cool. I've never heard him talk like that before. I'd be like, yeah, remember all that stuff I gave you a few months back? Listen to that. And you'll see the connection, So good for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what else you want to go over?
I don't know, man. Let's talk about Thanksgiving. Did you do a family thing today?
Yes.
What'd you do?
My mom came up from Florida. She's actually helping clean the disaster of a house I bought. It's a really nice house, but an 82-year-old man lived alone in it, so it needed some work. So she's up, and it was her and my daughter and my dad and my dad's friend, and we just had a quiet dinner. My dad is an excellent cook, and my daughter helped out, which is good because when we do Thanksgiving at my house next year, she's going to be doing all the work, and I'll just be helping. So it was good. It was a very quiet. That's to us, Thanksgiving and Christmas morning, that's what it is. It's quiet time with close family, just to enjoy each other's company, nothing more.
Cool.
How about you?
No, just my wife's going to make some turkey later today. Not a big turkey. We don't have family over. We don't get together with family. My parents my dad's on the East Coast. My mom's dead. My siblings, I don't really know. I don't fly. I don't go to states where I can't take a gun legally. Yep. So, most of the family's out, except my sister who lives in Virginia, and she wouldn't like me showing up with a gun. And so that's out. Her family, her parents are I really like their relationship and their view on family. They're very loving, but they're very not, you need to do things we don't send her parents something on Valentine's Day or their anniversary. They're like, that's our day. You don't need to get involved, and they'll call on holidays and they'll be sweet and we'll call them, but there's no need to get together with family, it's kind of cool. And, her son is deployed and her daughter is, anyway. So yeah, there's no family get together and we're really fine with it, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's sweet.
And, I think a lot of people, and I know not everyone feels this way, but I have friends, I have a few close friends, and to me, they're family. You don't have to be with your biologically related, family. You
make your own family. I really feel like you make your own family,
Well, it's like New Year's Eve. A couple of my friends, we get together every year, and it's not a drunken rage, or it's just we get together we all have kids. We all stay up and watch the ball drop. We make food and we have a good time, and to me, that is family. And I think when people are talking about all the bad stuff that's coming down the pike, it's good to be prepared and it's good to be aware. But, you really want to build those connections. You really want to have those people you call family, even if they're not, help each other out, get to know each other, and build those bonds, because when the tough times hits, those are the people that are going to be there for you and that are going to work with you.
Yeah. Nikki Darling is going to call in.
Awesome.
Yeah. Do you know Nikki? Do you talk to her?
I haven't talked to her, but I listened to her interview with you on the Anarchy Gumbo. She sounded really cool.
Was that called Nikki Darling Talks About Porn and How the World Works?
Yeah.
Yeah, that gets a lot of hits, probably because it's a pretty girl talking about what kind of porn she likes.
Yeah, that's got my attention.
Yeah. She says she has a good story to tell.
Awesome.
Yeah. I don't know what Mr. Oil's telling me here. He said, regarding email, go ahead, and if anything, blame me that I said okay. Oh, I guess he's saying we can go till 15 minutes after we're, what is it right now? Like it's 5:06 your time, East Coast time. We usually end at 5:30, but since we started 15 minutes late, if you want to go, do you want to go 15 minutes extra there, Chandler?
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll go to, I'm waiting for
Nikki. Hey, you know what I've noticed?
What?
There have been no cusses on this cast. You're doing really well.
I think I slipped a couple out by accident.
Oh,
I think I was talking about when I was talking about the UN. God darn UN and their horse hockey and their blurg and their blurg.
See, I'm trying to be courteous to you guys because I'm a guest, but on our cast, there is no holds barred. Since we're just this tiny little thing on Blog Talk, I tend to go off and whatever.
Yeah. We've been trying to do less of that because there are people doing radio with us. I should probably share the radio link.
Well, and you want to be more friendly to younger crowds and people that may like
and
the
older
message,
crowds.
Yeah, that may just take offense to that kind of language, you know.
Mama Liberty doesn't cuss. A lot of the Free State Wyoming people don't cuss, and you actually can't cuss on their forum, and if you do, it changes it to other words, which is kind of funny because it's not tuned. So like, you know, if you type cock, it turns it into rooster. But if you type cocker spaniel, it turns it into rooster or spaniel.
Fiend phone.
That's awesome.
Oh,
Fiend phone.
Answer. Nikki Darling, what's up, Nikki Darling?
Hello. How's my audio?
It's pretty good.
Good.
What's your story? What's the story, Mama?
Well, so my mom decided not to go over to my brother's house for Thanksgiving, and I already had planned not to go. And I don't know if you saw my Facebook update, but that's why. And,
no, I didn't. I am on there most of the day, but not quite 24/7. When I'm doing a show, I'm usually not on there.
Well, Ben Stone liked it a lot.
Well, Ben Stone was supposed to be one of the guests on here with Chandler, and he said he couldn't do it because he had family stuff. What is he doing on Facebook? Busted, Ben.
But so I didn't go, and my mom decided not to go at the last minute because I guess she was really sick and asked me to go to the store to get her some suppositories. And she won't mind me saying this because she
awesome.
laughs. I'm standing in the aisle, and there's all these different suppositories to choose from, and I'm like, just my mind is boggled. And I call her, and she's like, okay, well, read off what they have. And I'm standing in the aisle, and there's a lot of people around. And I'm reading off what the suppositories are. And she's like, what? I can't hear you. Is that one a liquid or a solid? And I'm like, Mom, I really don't want to say this really loud. And she goes, I can't hear you. And I was like, it's a liquid suppository. And this like lady just shot me a look. It was just really funny. And I told her that one day if I ever do comedy, she will make my routine.
Did you just fall down the stairs, Nikki?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm opening a bag of chips because that's my Thanksgiving dinner treat to myself.
So,
awesome.
Wow. So do you want to talk about... Go ahead, Chandler. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, there's a lot of Nikki Darlings on Facebook. I tried to punch it up, and there was like 20 of them.
That's because of the Prince song. It's a song about a girl masturbating with a magazine.
Well, the song is actually Darling Nikki.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, right about the magazine, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, but that is your real name. You are the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Darling, and they named you Nikki in honor of Prince.
No.
Yeah. So, do you want to talk about recent events in your life or not?
Sure, I guess.
And how my books helped you?
Well, yeah, your book has definitely helped me. I haven't listened to it since this event, but I listened to it before. But I've been doing a lot of research about, different sorts of psychology and stuff like that anyway. I was in a relationship with a guy from Canada, and things were really, really great.
Now, wait, was it imaginary? Because isn't that a running joke of like, oh, I have a boyfriend. He's in Canada.
No, it really was not imaginary. It was actually really great, but I should have... the whole red flag thing, I should have listened to my instincts in the beginning because he fell in love with me very fast and professed his love to me and the fact that he wanted to marry me. So as he's breaking up with me, well, it wasn't even a breakup. One night I didn't want to talk to him on Skype and he was being a big baby. And I said, I just want to be alone right now. And he thought I was breaking up with him. And then he turned the whole thing around and somehow ended up now he's telling everybody that he dumped me. And he just is giving me the silent treatment and won't talk to me and call me batshit crazy. So I just don't understand why. While the last conversation we had, he said, flash mob and propose to you.
Hey, what? I lost you there for a sec. What? He was going to what?
He said to me in our last conversation, which was really mean, he wanted to hire a flash mob to propose to me. And then,
first of all, you shouldn't have to hire flash mobs. It's supposed to be the free market saying this is important enough for people to be involved. Second of all, that's really creepy because that would have a bunch of strangers show up and be witnesses and like pressure you into it or something.
No, I think his idea was I want you to know how important you are to me because I mean that's what he said. And then he said, "I'm sorry it didn't work out," and then he hung up on me. So it was just very strange. 32-year-old adult man, just very weird.
Well, I think you dodged a bullet by, dumping is never fun. Did you dump him or he dumped you?
I didn't dump him at all, no.
Okay,
I just wanted the night alone.
So he dumped you. I think you got off really light. I mean, it didn't feel like it, and I love how this has turned into a relationship advice show suddenly, which is great. I love it. And I'm actually qualified to give that because I've dated I've slept with about 170 women and dated about 75 of them and have been really, really happily married for about 7 years. And I always like to take advice from people who are actually doing it right. So rather than people with degrees. So yeah, I'll tell you what to do. I think you did it. I think you got off light and it's okay and better now than after you marry him or move in with him or worse, marry him and have kids. That would be really complicated.
That's exactly what my therapist said. She said, "He's giving you a gift. Take it."
So how did my book, User's Manual for the Human Experience, enter into all this?
Well, I really love the advice that you give about the Serenity Vampire.
Serenity Vampire. Yeah, my wife made up that term, and I like it.
High five to her. That's great. But it's true. If somebody is trying to force you to spend time with them and there's something about them, it doesn't matter what it is, you don't have to be mean, just get rid of that person from your life. There's no talking about it, no nothing, just that's it.
Good advice.
Yeah, I mean, I have about 300 people blocked on Facebook, and I know about 50 of them in person, and probably about 20 of them I knew for years, and probably about 10 of them I was really good friends with at some point. And it's just like, I don't mind if people disagree with me. It happens all the time, even if they're dead wrong. Like I've said it before, I have a couple friends on Facebook who are friends in real life who are literally socialist one and communist the other. But they're not dicks. And I have actually banned people who are, libertarian, anarcho-capitalist deists who agree with my worldview 100%, but they're just dicks.
Yep. That's important to not be a dick because you really cannot gain hearts and minds if you're a dick.
So, how did you come to liberty, and what's your worldview? Are you a voluntarist, an agorist? What is your flavor of Linux, of life Linux?
I love voluntarism. It's a beautiful concept, but it's something that I didn't have a name for. I've always kind of lived my life that way. Everyone should be able to do what they want as long as they don't harm anybody. You're getting a bit of echo there. Are you on speakers or headphone? Sorry, I'm on headphones. I'm just trying to hold them a certain way. Okay. They're the little iPhone headphones. How's that? I just won't move them. Okay. I've just always kind of been a little bit against the status quo my entire life. It wasn't anything that I tried to do. It just was, especially growing up in Washington, D.C. So it was actually Eddie Free who brought me into the whole liberty world because I don't know how I became friends with him on Facebook one day, but I did, and he was doing the Jefferson Dance Party, and I said, "Hey, can I come out and photograph that?" And he said, "Sure." And I'd been listening to Free Talk Live before that. Your photography is amazing. It is mind-blowing. Really?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm checking it out right now. Looking at the pictures you posted on Facebook.
Don't link it on the chat room. Unless she wants you to. I don't know.
Oh, I didn't link that. That was something else I know. Suggest for later.
So are a lot of creepy guys coming out of the woodwork hitting on you now that you're single?
One did, and apparently, from what I've been told by someone who will remain nameless, he's a creepy liberty troll. He's not even really a part of the liberty movement, and he lies, and he lives in New Hampshire. And
ew.
Yeah, so I deleted his ass.
Yeah. So. Yeah, don't settle. Don't jump into something else. Be with yourself for a while.
Oh, yeah, that's easy. Before I met
with yourself and a magazine.
After I met this last guy, I'd been alone for a year, and it was beautiful. So I don't know, I'm getting over this a lot better than I thought I would.
Yeah. So what's next? What's next for you?
I don't know. Winter is kind of slow for me in the photography business, so I make gauged earrings and sell those. And I don't know. I'm thinking of places to move, maybe out west or up north, maybe to New Hampshire. I'm not sure.
The thing with moving, I'll just give my general advice that I give to anybody who's looking for a place to move, and that's don't move to try to get away from yourself, because yourself and your problems will be on the doorstep waiting for you. But I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but a lot of people move for that reason.
That's true. Yeah, but I want to get away from Washington, D.C.
Yeah, that's worth doing. Yeah, who wants to live near the District of Criminals? And it's like that's ground zero for like war and terrorist attacks and stuff. It's like I don't want to be anywhere populated even, but I especially don't want to be where they being those bad people would try to attack, and I think where I live in Wyoming is probably about as far from anything anybody would want to hit as anywhere in America. Maybe not my town, but 2 towns over probably.
Exactly. I'm definitely in the fallout zone.
In the what zone?
Fallout zone.
Yeah, I'm in the bug out zone.
Nice.
Me too.
Yeah, Maine. Caribou.
I was just in Maine in September. It's really beautiful up there.
Yeah, that time of year it is. Don't come in February. It's
it's brutal. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Your snow stays white and it doesn't get all dirty.
Were you considering moving to Canada when you were dating this guy?
It was something that I put out on the table to say, yeah, sure. If this relationship does get that far, I would. Because he has a daughter and a job, and he can't leave Canada because of his daughter and the ex-wife, who, ironically, he's not even divorced from yet.
Would you want to be in a relationship with someone who already had kids? That would be a deal breaker for me. I mean, it wasn't for me because my wife's kids were like, 23 when I married them. But, someone that's like still raising a kid would have been a deal breaker for me.
No, I was okay with it. She was a really cool kid, and we were planning to have more kids. So, I mean, we literally were planning the future, and he just up and gone, like, just, that's it.
You dodged a bullet, sister.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people solidify that kind of relationship and then find out 5 or 10 years later that it's not going to work. That's really a hassle.
Yeah. So he's also a very black and white person, and his dating I didn't meet him through a dating website, but his dating profile that I just found out he had a prior relationship.
He had up the whole time you were together? He still had his dating profile? Yeah. Creepy.
Yeah. It was active, but he
Creepy.
told me, he wasn't using it. But the profile pretty much is just like, if in 3 months, like he has these set dates and time limits, like in 3 months, if we do not have the 3 key bonds, and that's it.
That sounds like communist central planning or, like Congress central planning, like a 3-month plan.
No, I'm pretty sure he has borderline personality disorder.
Well, they do tend to make lists.
Oh, jeez.
But so do I, and I don't have that. So, I mean, making lists is how I get things done. But my lists are constantly updated, whereas it sounds like his never would. They are hard, fast rules that he's stayed up all night, drinking too much coffee, making up. I literally like always have a yellow pad next to me and have things to do on it, and then cross them out and add more and change them. And it's a conversation with myself. Not that I talk to myself, but it's a conversation more than a constitution.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, what else was I going to say? He was also religious, and we didn't argue about that. It was sort of like we could both deal with it. But I forgot what I was going to say. I'm totally having a brain fart. I totally got him into Liberty, pretty much. Or maybe he just did that to woo me more. I don't know. But he told me he stayed up reading stuff, Bastiat, all kinds of stuff, all night long sometimes.
Yeah.
He liked to call himself a minarchist, though.
Ew. Have you seen that thing, like Libertarian Speed Dating? It's a cartoon, 3-panel cartoon.
No.
It's really funny. It's a drawing of a man and a woman sitting at a table somewhere, and the guy says something like, "So what are your feelings on voluntary interactions?" And the woman says, "But who would build the roads?" And the guy turns away from her and says, "Next."
I'm convinced that that's how my dating life will become, though, because I'm not going to settle for anybody without the same morals anymore. I've decided.
Yeah. What was that?
That was me. I get people in the house.
So, Nikki, what happened with that copyright troll or patent troll in your jewelry world? And tell the story on that.
Oh, okay. So I sell my stuff on Etsy, and I believe that that's a pretty easy way for people to troll other people's ideas and copy them. And this one girl who has quite a following out west pretty much copied one of my pieces down to a T and put it out a week after I put my piece out. It was pretty obvious. And she was interviewed by a city paper out where she lives and said that she was in the process of patenting this process of these earrings. And I just wanted to scream, but I will tell you, my father does work at the patent office, and he laughed at that and just said, "She'll never get it. It's so common. There's rules about that sort of thing. If it's common and it's already being done, you can't patent it."
Yeah. Also, I'd say there's prior art in the form of what you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah, that was what he said. There's some law or something. So
yeah. What did I suggest to you for dealing with her? And did you implement it?
I did not yet, but I'm still thinking about doing it. But at the same time, a few of my friends were like, "That's kind of antagonistic." But you suggested that I make a pair of earrings that were just really ugly
turds,
yeah, and name them after her. So it is a pretty good idea. I might actually do it still.
Yeah. Well, cool. Anything else you got?
No, but I hope everybody's enjoying their Thursday.
I am. I'm enjoying my Thanks-taking day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
All right. Take care, Nikki. Thanks for calling in.
Thanks. Okay. Bye.
Worms. So Chandler.
I think I'm going to adopt a cat, Michael.
From what kind of agency or person or where?
From out in the front of my house.
Oh, that's the best way, the free market way.
Yeah, there's a cat that's been snooping around, and he looks kind of scrawny, and he is the most beautiful thing. And my daughter just fell in love with him, so... Jeez, I don't know. We have 2 and a dog, but we might have to have another one.
Well, I not only give audio advice, Linux advice, relationship advice, I'm also pretty good with cat advice. Those are pretty much, and guns. Those are my 5 areas of somewhat expertise. Here's my recommendation if you're going to adopt a wild cat. Take it to a vet. Get it shots, get it checked out before you let it interact with your kid or your pets.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the cost right there. But I don't know. This cat's really cool looking, so I think it'll be worth it.
What's it look like?
It's black and gray, has a very oriental look. The eyes are very narrow, very cool looking eyes. I've never seen eyes like that on a cat before. Green
You mean like
eyes.
a Siamese look?
Almost, but it's not a Siamese cat. It's really weird. I'll snap some pictures tomorrow if we're around and post it.
Did you like the new cat banner at the top of the Freedom Feens podcast?
I did. That was cool.
I think I'll have to post that. I'm pretty proud of that.
Photoshop is so fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So
people really like the negative space one that I made accidentally and posted while making that, which was something meant to be thrown away. But yeah.
No, I didn't see that one.
Oh, I'll post it. What were you going to say?
So I want to throw out a suggestion for some music, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I came across a group. They're on Facebook, and I posted their link in the chat room. They're called Jagoff Publishing, and they do all their own music and no record labels. Their albums are It takes a major label to hold us back.
I like that.
And they have a song, DOIE or Die, that kicks ass.
What is it? What's it called?
Jagoff Publishing is their Facebook, and their website is www.thejagoff.com.
No, it was What or Die?
Oh, DYE or Die.
DYE, not DIY.
DIY. Yeah. So yeah, they're pretty cool, and they're a real funk band, and they're all white. And when I listened to them, they sounded black. I was like, wow, these guys are white. They're really good.
A lot of people thought that about the Chili Peppers when they came out.
Yeah. So yeah, they're cool, man. Check them out.
Yeah. Well, we got about 15 minutes left here. Why don't you talk for a while?
Me, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
you.
Well, let's
Talk
see.
about liberty. Talk about non-aggression principle. Talk about guns. Talk about Linux.
Linux. I'm still learning that. You know, we had our back and forth with that. I was trying to figure out how to install programs on Linux that are not in the vast suppository that you have to manually do, and it's kind of proving to be challenging. I guess you're supposed to try to install them command line as a root bash user or something like that. And yeah, I'm so used to Windows and Mac that command line is definitely not my thing. I need to do my homework.
I was having a problem. What was the flavor of GNU/Linux we were originally using that we had so
Mint.
many problems with? Mint.
Debian Mint.
Debian Mint. Yeah. I couldn't even add programs that were in their vast suppository. I couldn't install anything. I think it was a problem with how I partitioned.
Yeah, you probably did. Did you set a logical drive or a primary drive?
I don't know. I used that tutorial that I showed you. But the thing is with Xubuntu, it automatically partitions. You know, I took an old Windows machine, I wiped it with Derek's boot and nuke, and then just stuck the CD in and just kept clicking OK. And then I had working Linux that, like, you know, the sound card worked, the internet card worked, everything worked on it out of the box. So I really liked it. And I was able to install things from their vast suppository. I haven't tried the command line stuff yet, but I couldn't get a lot of audio stuff to work. I mean, the sound card worked. Like, I would play the Freedom Feens from the website, and it would play with the little Flash player. And I did not have to install Flash. It automatically installed that, which a lot of Linux won't do because Flash is proprietary. Doesn't play nice with Linux type methodologies and ideologies.
Did you get Audacity working?
Yeah, I got Audacity working, but
too.
I couldn't record into it with this mixer we both have.
Yeah, see, I haven't tried it with the mixer.
But you got your mixer to work with Windows 7? I couldn't.
Really? Mine was just plug and play.
Huh. Maybe I need to try it again, because I tried it like 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's
Windows 7.
Why.
I think there's probably been an update since then.
Yeah,
which is good to know,
and there's
because
no drivers on the website anymore.
Yeah, so that means they're in Windows, right?
I would assume so. My thing was getting it to work in Mac. I had a heck of a time. I finally got it working, but I had to do third-party drivers to do it.
Yeah, and the mixer we're talking about is the Alesis USB Multimix 8, which is a good little mixer, but they don't make it anymore, and there's not support for a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's a good starting mixer. I know they have a couple of models that are a step up from it, but they're rather expensive.
The new ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like $279. This one was $175, like 6 years. I've had this for a long time. I actually had the same model before and burned it out like a day after the 1 year warranty was expired. The trick with this mixer and with some other mixers is there's a design flaw where they get too hot to run for hours. So what I do is just put a little block of wood under the back of it to lift it up and let some air get under it, and it works fine.
Awesome.
Like a 1-inch block of wood. I'm actually using. I don't use a block of wood. I use a Vaporsmith's charger.
Nice.
Which
is
you know
what I found
half-inch
for electronics, and I never believed in this before, but I have everything running off a pretty nice power strip that I paid a lot of money for, and assuming I'm not seeding something, I will shut everything down and then shut off the power strip as well, and that seems to have, since I've started doing that a couple of years ago with electronics, it seems to have prolonged them. So only time will tell, but I've had less problems.
Yeah. Yeah. Audio stuff is good. So did you use condenser mics before you used the $17 dynamic Natty mic?
I used a professional gaming headset that cost me like $125.
How'd that sound?
And it sounds okay. Like I said, on Blog Talk, you really can't tell a difference. But I would record it in Audition, and it had some decent sound. But I'll tell you, you know what really sounds good? If you're starting out podcasting and you don't want to do a mixer and a mic and everything, and you just want a good headset, you get what are they called? There's a few different brands. It's just a USB sound card, and you plug your headset and microphone input into that, and you plug it USB. And Logitech has a really cheap headset. It doesn't have volume control. That's the only downfall.
That's a hassle.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, if you're good with manipulating the volume in Windows, and the sound on it is excellent, and the headsets are like when I'm out walking trails and stuff and I'm listening to my iPod, I use that headset. Even though it's bigger and bulkier, it sounds tremendous, and it's like a $12 headset. It's unbelievable.
What's the brand name of that?
It's Logitech.
That might be the same one I'm using. Let me see. I have a recommendation for an $11 headset that's really good.
That's probably the same one.
I will post it. It's called the E4City VoIP Skype headset, hands-free with microphone. It's what I'm using right now for headphone. I'm not using it to speak on. I'm using a $139 Shure Beta 57A dynamic mic, but I'm using it as my headset because my really nice $100 Panasonic headphones, or no, Sony headphones don't have a volume control. And there's something about doing this show with Butt. I use those good headphones for the other show Sunday, which we use Mumble for, but there's something about using Butt that I can't get the levels right on the mixer going out to the stream without having it really loud in the headphones. So I use the cheaper headphones that have the volume control and then just turn them down in my headphones.
Now, when you plug your headphones in, do you have them into your computer, or do you have them into the phone jack in your mixer?
Ask the question again, please.
When you plug your headphones in, do you plug them into your computer or to the headphone jack in your mixer?
Headphone jack in the mixer. Actually, what I use is I have a 1/4-inch stereo male jack that has two 1/8-inch stereo female jacks.
Yep.
And I generally just use one side of that to plug my headphones in. But when I do this show, I plug my headphones in one side and then use a stereo 1/8-inch male to 1/8-inch male out going into another computer, which is running Butt. And then I use a third computer to take phone calls on with Skype.
Man, that's too complicated.
It's what works, you know? I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sure that there's an easier way to do it. I mean, Ian Freeman does the LRN streaming feed on one computer, and it's an old computer, and it works flawlessly. And it's all off-the-shelf software, too. But I can't get stuff to work like that on a computer. The problem I have is the sound card attaches to one program and won't let the sound card deal with another program or allow any audio into the other program. But I have a bunch of computers, so it's not a problem. You know, I'm not even using all my computers that are in this room right now.
See, now what I've found, and it's kind of interesting, you know, I built a really, really nice Windows machine, sound blaster sound card, quad core, 8 gigs of RAM, you know, some really nice hard drives and everything. And it's a great computer. I found a HP workstation. It's a server grade computer, nothing fancy. And I turned it into a Hackintosh, basically running Mac. And it's all hacked. And I'll tell you, as far as audio stuff goes, that works even better.
Yep. You still there? Sounds like you turned a switch off. Do you have a switch on your microphone?
I do. I'll be right back.
All right. Well, I'm going to talk about computers a little bit more. I am using, let's see, we're using a program called Mumble to talk to each other. I turned Adam Curry onto it, and I think he's using it now to talk to John. And then broadcasting via Butt, broadcast using this tool. which we also use. And I actually got a hold of the creator of Butt, who made a beta version that's the Freedom Feens version. He made it for me that has a volume output on it, so I can adjust that on the fly. Are you back?
Yeah. When you guys first suggested Butt on the cast, I had downloaded it and tried it, and I had a heck of a time. I'll have to try if he's updated at downloading a new version.
He has not, and the version we have, he gave to people for the No Agenda stream only, and doesn't want it given out to anyone else yet until we do a lot of beta testing. But what did you try to use Butt with? Because you have to use it with a server. Do you have a streaming server?
Oh Jesus! What did I had this really weird? I did something with iTunes and. Oh, there's a Mac program that you can stream to. It's a server, and you have to pay to get your server going. Because this is when we were trying to get off BTR the first time, and I had it almost working, but I couldn't get the audio. It was like so low that you really couldn't hear it. Like I recorded it and edited it in Audition, and I had to amplify it by like 10 to get it going. So yeah, I just haven't had the time to fiddle around with it. I'm always looking to try new software and new hardware. I've been kind of busy lately, so I haven't had the time to put into it.
Well, it has to work with either a Shoutcast server that you're paying for or an Icecast server that you're paying for. Were you paying for one of those?
Yeah, it was. I think it was something to do with Icecast, because I read the whole fact, that comes with the program and everything before I just delved into it.
You should have asked me. I tell everybody they should ask me before they do anything, because I don't know everything about everything, but there's about 5 areas of life that if you're starting something from scratch, I've already written tutorials on it and probably books.
It's funny too, because your book, the user's manual, my co-host CJ actually gave that to me. He's like, I've been listening to these guys for a little while. You should check out the cast. And he's like, and read this book, because I was going through kind of a tough time and everything. And I read that book, and I had this image of you being kind of like Stefan Molyneux, like really well-to-do stuff, sure. And then I listened to the first Freedom Feens podcast, and I was like, this is the same guy?
Really? That's interesting, because when I read it, in my voice, in my head, it's me. But I guess
it's coming from your perspective.
I actually was trying to write a book. My history with publishing is kind of like my history with music. Like, I've done stuff on major labels. I was on Warner Brothers for a while. I've done stuff on indie labels, and I've put out stuff myself. The same with books. I make part of my living writing books that are published by the biggest textbook publisher in America. I've also done one book on a small press, and I've self-published a bunch of stuff. And I was trying to get, I wrote a few chapters for that book and ran it by my literary agent and had some publishers look at it. And they felt it was covering too much. They wanted me to break it up into 2 books. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that.
I'm glad you didn't.
Yeah. And so I guess I kind of was trying to not write in a stuffed shirt voice, but kind of like keep my dick in my pocket, or keep my weirdness from rising to the surface.
I guess stuffed shirt is the wrong way to put it. It sounded very, very authoritative and professional. And on the cast, you guys are much more happy-go-lucky and loose.
Yeah, it sounds like the guy who wrote User's Manual for the Human Experience would not expound on the joys of tranny hookers and shooting crocodile.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we got about 4 more minutes here, or we could wrap up now.
Whatever. I just want to say thanks for having me on, Michael. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for being had. No, I'm kidding. Thanks for being on, man. It was good. And with that, I think we'll tell people they can go to freedomfeens.com. That's freedomfeens.com. It's not Freedom Fiends, it's Freedom Fiend, like how a little kid would say fiend. FEENS.com. For more, and for the MP3 of this, which will be up in an hour or so. And it's been really good having you on here. It's been good doing a Thanksgiving cast. And I'm probably going to go have some turkey at some point. And worms.
Worms.
All right. Let me end the butt here. Okay, I'm turning off the butt. Butt be gone. There. Butt's gone.
Cool.
All right. I don't think we're broadcasting anymore, but let's not say those damn people.
Yeah, so I'm digging this Mumble. I'm going to have to get more into this, definitely.
I'm going to
You
hang
guys
on.
pay for a server.
Yeah, we don't pay much. We pay $3 a month. I mean, we'd let you use ours anytime we're not using it. You're free to. Careful who you give it out to, though. I mean, you could give it out to your co-hosts, but don't give it out to like, basically, you can give it out to your co-host, like the one I know. What's her name?
Diana.
Yeah, you can give it out to her. Is there anybody else you'd want to give it out to?
No, and to be honest with you, I probably wouldn't have to give it out to Diana because she doesn't do any of the tech stuff. You know, I built her computer and sent it to her, and she's not really into the tech stuff like I am. She's trying to learn, but she just doesn't have the passion for it that I have. So I don't really have. That's a text message. I think it was the Joker from Batman.
It sounded maniacal. I was like, is that one of your relatives?
No, but that will be soon because we now have company. That's why I had to shut off for a minute. I had to go tell him to quiet down.
All right.
So
well,
it'll be time for me to head to my new house and resume cleaning.
Okay. I guess I'm going to get off the mumbles here and stretch. I've been sitting for 2.5 hours now.
Yes.
And then I'm going to go edit this and put it up.
Awesome.
Oh, I'm still recording, though. I'll put this up where I said, don't say those damn people. All right, man. Thanks a lot. Worms.
All right. Worms.